I'm gonna ask you a real question. I want you to think about it. Have you really put in the effort to change? Have you really put in the effort to make the change? Listen to me, you may be able to fool other people that you're trying, but you know what trying really looks like. You know if you're giving your absolute best. You know if you're really making sure you're making more than you're spending. You know if you're cooking more than you're eating out. You know if you're reading more than watching Netflix. Come on, somebody, I'm trying to help you today. If you're not making the effort, how can you expect the change? What's going on, difference makers? I am so fired up, so excited. I got a message to share with you today. I don't want to waste any time. I want to get straight into it because I believe this is the right message for the right time. I believe that this message is going to be a transformative message, something that really challenges you, inspires you, and empowers you. That's my life's mission. My life's mission is to challenge you to think on a different level, to inspire you to believe in yourself like never before, and to empower you with the tools that you can use to build this masterpiece called your life. Can I tell you something, that you are a masterpiece? Let me be the voice of truth to remind you that you are a masterpiece. I know it's easy in this life to focus on the mess, the mishaps, and even the mistakes, and we spend so much time focusing on those things and so little time just reminding ourselves that I am a masterpiece. I know at this moment you may be dealing with a mess, but let me remind you that even in a mess, you're reminded that you are a masterpiece, because oftentimes it takes a mess to create a miracle. So it's a reminder for you that today is a new day, that no matter what you're faced with, what you're going through, what you're fighting, or maybe even what you're fighting for, you still have an opportunity to overcome your greatest opposition. And if you have life, you have hope. Come on, somebody. If you have the ability, or if you have the awareness, or if you just are in this moment right now, you can make the choice to make a change, to get to where you desire to get to in your life. And that is my mission. That's my focus. That's my goal for you today. Today, if I was to title this message in this moment something, I would title it this. And for my note takers, you might want to write this down. The title of this moment is I've had enough. I've had enough. That is such a powerful proclamation that I have made the decision not to continue to settle where I was meant to soar. Come on, somebody. That is a proclamation. I've had enough says, listen, I don't want to continue to just accept the no's in my life as a rejection of my capabilities, but I'm ready to step into those no's and interpret the no as an acronym that stands for new opportunities. Come on, somebody. I've had enough means that I'm tired of checking the bank account before I swipe the card. Come on, y'all. I've had enough means I'm tired of the late notices in the mail. I've had enough means that I don't want to continue to worry and stress and have anxiety about how my life is going to turn out, if everything is going to work out, but I'm about to work this thing out so that it can become what it was meant to become. I've had enough means that I am sick of it. And I'm so ready to give you a message, a moment, some principles that I believe you can really take to heart today, so that you can take ownership of your life and over your destiny. I've had enough. Listen, I don't know about you. I don't know what you're facing. I don't know what you're dealing with, but I want to ask you a question. Are you ready to truly confront these things in your life? Are you ready to be transparent with yourself and saying, no longer, no more will I continue to accept these things in my life that are ultimately diluting my ability and causing me to perpetuate a cycle, to continue to meander through this life and continue to repeat these generational curses that are ultimately fighting my destiny. No longer will I allow my history to determine my destiny. I've had enough. Drop that in the chat for me. Comment that below. Write that down. Put it on your mirror in your bathroom. I've had enough. I don't know what that means to you, But I know that if you're watching this, I know that if you're really ready for transformation in your life, there is some area of your life that you need to stop running away from and you need to begin to run to. Something that you need to confront, something that you need to take full ownership of. And today is the day that you make the proclamation and the declaration that I've had enough. I've had enough, y'all. I've had enough. So I want to give you some things today. Some things that I believe are paramount if you're going to really confront the thing that is standing in your way of you getting to progress and momentum and peace. Come on, somebody. That felt so good. I think somebody watching this right now has been searching for and seeking for a level of peace in their life. Peace is when you have that internal alignment with internal and external alignment. Peace is when everything around you may be going crazy, but the thing inside of you feels this level of fulfillment and stillness. Peace is when you're authentic to who you really are, regardless of where you are. Come on, somebody. I want peace for you because I'm telling you, I've made money. Come on, somebody. I've made progress, but none of it means anything without peace. Can I tell you something? Most of us are pushing ourselves to be successful. But write this down and don't you ever forget this. Success without peace is torment. Having things, but no matter how many things you have, you can't seem to have that thing that actually gives you solace for your soul. That, my friends, is torment. So I don't just want you to achieve success. I want you to feel successful because you're truly walking in alignment, because you have the power, because you are connected to your purpose, because you have peace. I've had enough. Here's the question we need to start with. And I really believe that when we ask life powerful questions, we get true answers. Can I tell you something? Most of us don't get clear answers in life because we're not asking deep and authentic questions. A lot of us are straying away from asking those real questions because we're afraid to get the real answer. Do you know that it's impossible for you to get a real answer and it not provoke real change? Come on, somebody. It's impossible for you to get a revelation and that revelation not change your application. And so we stray away from revelatory moments because we want to hold on to our convenience, our control, our certainty, our comfort. But all of those C's are just going to keep you stuck. And if you stay stuck long enough, it will go from frustration to ultimately depression. So I want to break this down for you. And here's the question I want you to ask yourself transparently. Here it is. What needs to change for everything to change? Wow. What needs to change? Sit with me for a minute. I want you to really think about this. Think about it in your own life. What needs to change for everything to change? Come on. Do you know that I truly believe what you see around you is an indication to some degree of what's happening in you? And you see, most of us are attempting to change our circumstance without changing our stance. But when you break down the word circumstance and you split it into circum and stance, stance speaks to who you are. It speaks to your posture. Circum speaks to something in cycle. Come on, y'all. So when you put circum and stance together, what you're really saying is that your circumstance is just a manifestation of your stance. It's your stance in a in a cycle. Or let me break it down practically for you. It's just showing you who you really are. So don't take that as a form of discouragement, but take that as a form of hope. That if what's around you and the circumstances that you're in, if they don't align with what you desire, then you understand that where you are to this point is just a byproduct of what you've done. But where you will be a byproduct of what you will do. Today is a new day. You have a new opportunity today to make the change that you need to make. But the question for you is, what needs to change for everything to change? I'm going to give you some things that I think needs to change if you are really going to go from where you have been to where you desire to be. Here's the first thing that you need to do. And every single one of these starts with stop. Come on, somebody. The first thing says you need to stop speaking to yourself negatively and expecting positive outcomes. I can't harp on this anymore. that in order for us to truly get to the level or to really make the progress we desire to make, the first thing that we must stop doing is stop speaking to yourself negatively and expecting positive outcomes. We don't understand the power of our words. Your words pack a punch. I keep saying it this way, that watch the words that are coming out of your mouth, because your ears are listening. And if your ears continue to hear things over and over again, that is diminishing your worth, your identity, your value, at some point you're going to believe it, because it starts with your tongue, but then it becomes ingrained in your mind. And if your thought life is not conducive to your results and your progress, ultimately you will always end up short. You'll always come into some form of frustration. And most of us don't even believe the things we say about ourselves. We're really just repeating things that we've heard other people say. Come on, y'all. I keep telling you that insecurities are really just repetitions of somebody's broken perspective that you've allowed to become your reality. That your insecurities are just repetitions. Watch this. You keep repeating it over and over again. I'm not good enough. I'll never be good enough. I'm worth nothing. I'm worth less. I deserve what I have. I deserve where I should be. Nobody cares about me. I'll never get ahead. People are judging me. Whatever you keep telling yourself, these repetitions of a broken perspective that you have allowed to become your reality. And catch me on this nugget, that your insecurities diminish where your worth is established. One of the ways that you begin to establish worth in your life is to speak positively about yourself, because we want to see positive outcomes and then speak about ourselves positively based on what we see. But can I tell you something, that your outcome is the byproduct of your value. Woo! And your value begins with how you speak about yourself. Don't expect to speak negatively about yourself, but blame other people when they speak negatively about you. Don't you ask me for something that you're not willing to give to yourself. And so if we really want to have that progress and make that change, the first thing that we must take seriously is to stop speaking about yourself, to yourself negatively, but expecting positive outcomes. I know you've made mistakes, but there is a difference between making a mistake and believing that you are a mistake. I know you failed at a few things, but there's a difference between failing at some things and believing that you are a failure. Come on, y'all. And if you define yourself as something, your definition of a thing will set the tone for what you're willing to accept or what you reject. And so make sure that you're defining yourself accurately if you want to see positive outcomes and things happen in your life. Here's the second thing. We're moving quickly. Stop complaining about your current situation without putting in the effort to change it. Come on, y'all. I know I'm speaking to somebody right now. Stop complaining about your current situation without putting in the effort to change it. Most of us have become so comfortable in complaining. We have become so normalized by always pointing out the negatives. We have allowed ourselves to keep talking about what we don't have, as if we're waiting for somebody to come save us, somebody to come help us, somebody to come believe in what we keep breaking down. But can I tell you that if you keep complaining about your situation, you will never truly get the perspective you need to create the change. Let me simplify it and say it this way, that complaining is the kryptonite to creativity. Come on, y'all. Y'all ain't gonna talk to me? That if we complain, complaining is really a focus issue. Complaining is a focus issue. Complaining is what we do when we focus on the negatives. And whatever you focus on will magnify. Oh, come on, y'all. Whatever you put your focus on will magnify. And if you magnify the negative, if you magnify the lack, you will minimize the opportunity that's always in the midst of your obstacle. Let me say it a different way, that if you focus continuously on magnifying the problems, you will minimize and eventually miss the purpose. So we got to stop complaining about your current situation without putting in the effort to change it. I'm going to ask you a real question. I want you to think about it. Have you really put in the effort to change? Have you really put in the effort to make the change. Listen to me, you may be able to fool other people that you're trying, but you know what trying really looks like. You know if you're giving your absolute best. You know if you're really making sure you're making more than you're spending. You know if you're cooking more than you're eating out. You know if you're reading more than watching Netflix. Come on, somebody. I'm trying to help you today. If you're not making the effort, how can you expect the change? How can you expect to see something positive happen in your life if you're not doing the things that are conducive to those positive results? Here's the third thing. We're flying fast. Hope y'all okay so far. The third one, ooh, this is big. Stop allowing people to dilute you because they can't digest you. Stop allowing people to dilute you because they can't digest you. One of the most dangerous things I believe we as humans can do is mistake recognition for validation. Let me break this down. I think as human beings, it's essential that we are recognized. You want to be recognized for the value that you add. You want to be recognized for who you are and your gifts, your talents, your abilities. But what you don't want to do is need to be validated. Validation is confirmation that you're enough. Validation is somebody else's confirmation that you're enough. And when people define you as good enough, watch me close, they will also redefine you when they've had enough. Let me say it again. If people define you as good enough, if your definition of good comes from people's validation, the moment people switch because you are no longer what they want to see, you will ultimately be impacted because your confidence was found in their definition of who you actually are. And here's the thing I want us to be so careful of. When we're so focused on people's validation, you will allow people to dilute you to the level of their understanding of who you should be. Come on, y'all. Most of us are killing our dreams, our visions, our aspirations, not because we don't believe, but because we took our belief and we put it into the hands of a non-believer. Come on, y'all. We took our big dreams and we filtered them through small minds. We took our big aspirations and we put them under the microscope of people who are trying to advise you, but in real actuality, they're trying to discourage you because you arriving could be some form of torment to them that they did not. Y'all ain't gonna talk to me today? I'm trying to help you to understand that if you really want to make progress, there comes a point in time in this, and I'm not talking about a mentor, coach, somebody who's really helping you to grow. There comes a point in time that you have to start smelling the breath of the people who are speaking into your life. Because when you smell their breath, you understand the source of where their words are coming from. Track with me really quick. Be cautious. When you get around certain people and you leave and your energy feels depleted, that's an indication that you're dealing with somebody who's draining energy. And if people are draining your energy, it's an indication that they can't add any value to your life. Their design, whether they know it or not, is to suck life out of anything that comes around them. And here's why people suck life, because they don't have any for themselves. Maybe I'm going too deep. Let me keep going before I get in trouble. Here's the next thing. Stop listening to people who suffer from spectator syndrome. Stop listening to people who suffer from spectator syndrome. As an avid sports fan, one of the things that always trips me out is when I go to a sports game and I hear the fans screaming at the players as to what they should have done. I get it. We get involved. We get excited. We want to win. And that's our ultimate desire. That's why we go there as fans. That's why it's important, the culture, the vibe. I get it. But there becomes a really, really, really thin line between giving somebody some feedback and giving somebody advice for something that you have never done. I've never in my life been on no field running with no ball and had nobody that's 300 pounds running at me trying to take my head off. I don't even know what that's like. I'm a big guy, but I've never played football a day in my life. I'm an island boy, y'all. I played cricket. Don't you judge me. But here's what I'm trying to help you to understand. Sometimes we allow people who have spectator syndrome to speak into our lives, and they're really speaking from the sidelines, giving us advice when we're in the game. I said this the other day in a video I made. One of the biggest mistakes I made early in entrepreneurship is that I was listening and taking advice from somebody who was still working a job. Just track with me. It's not because I'm saying people working a job can't give an entrepreneur advice, but they're working a job because they were struggling with fear of stepping out on their own and doing what they really wanted to do. And so they had aspirations to be an entrepreneur, but did not have the courage. So this is me taking context and getting advice from somebody who doesn't even have the courage to step into what they're giving me advice to walk through. So you got to be careful when you're listening to people to analyze where they're speaking from. Are they in the game with you? Have they been in the game? Are they competing next to you? Or are they in the stands trying to tell you what play to run based on their perspective? That leads into the next point. Come on, somebody. Woo! Stop asking for permission to fully step into your dream. Let me tell you something. It's called a dream for a reason. It's called a vision for a reason. Everybody is not supposed to be able to see it. It came to you because of your story, your gift, your uniqueness, your perspective, your power, your passion. It came to you because you're the only one that could actually birth this thing into time. It came to you because you are the one that is responsible and tasked with the purpose of bringing this thing into being. And oftentimes we get this dream and we attempt to ask people for permission to step into what they cannot see and what they cannot give us authority and autonomy to step into. Most people will never truly see what you're thinking about until what you're thinking about comes into time. And so if you stop at your thought life simply because you're waiting for somebody to say, that's a good idea, I think it should work, I think you should pursue it. If you're waiting for people to speak into and believe in what you need to believe into first, you can't truly get out of the space of being stuck. And so what I want you to be cautious of is that you're not waiting for permission to fully step into your dream. Here's the next point. We're moving quickly. Stop being loyal to people and places that are derailing or delaying your destiny. Let me say it again, that you got to stop being loyal to people and places that are derailing or delaying your destiny. Listen to me. Jovan Glasgow can't go everywhere. I got free will to go everywhere. But going everywhere for me is not wise. There's certain places that whether I'm having fun or relaxing, I have no business being in. I'm not judging anybody. I'm not even going to go to the places I probably shouldn't be. But here is what I know. I understand the responsibility of my influence. I understand the focus and the pursuit that's necessary to accomplish the dream that I'm going after. I understand that as a person who helps people for a living, I got to be careful about my perception. Some people may not believe that. Some people may believe I do whatever I want to do and it's nobody's business what I do. I think that's irresponsible, to be honest with you. I think that when you take up a responsibility to be a person of influence, it does change what you can and cannot do. We see a lot of people right now dealing with a lot of mess simply because they were in places they didn't have no business being in. Come on, somebody. Y'all ain't gonna talk to me today or what? I think it is imperative that we're cognizant and cautious of where we're going and what we're trying to achieve, because going to a place in one season could be the thing that derails you in the next. So I think it is essential. It is truly essential that we got to be super cautious about where we hang out and who we hang out with. Because ultimately, if we're not focused on where we go, on what we're exposing ourselves to, on what type of environments we're in, we're always putting ourselves in position to truly, truly, truly be under scrutiny, to truly stay stuck. So stop being loyal to people and places that are derailing or delaying your destiny. Here's another one that I want to dive into really quick. We're coming to the end. Stop thinking that your perspective is the absolute truth. It may be your reality, but it's not necessarily the reality. Stop thinking that your perspective, which in actuality, your perspective is really just your perception. It's your one-way lens, according to my good friend MJ. Your one-way lens on how you view the world. And your one-way lens doesn't necessarily mean that it's the absolute truth. Because oftentimes you're only seeing one side, one thing. And oftentimes, if we stay and hold so true to what we see, We can rob ourselves of the totality of the picture. And by doing so, not really be able to grasp what we need to grasp to go to the next level. Because guess what? Perspective matters. Perspective matters. So stop thinking that your perspective, which is really your perception, is the absolute truth. Here's the last thing, and one of the most important things that I want you to grasp in this. Stop waiting for one day. One day. I think you got to be careful, and I would encourage you to remove that from your vernacular and your thought life. One day. One day I will. One day I'll become. One day I'll achieve. One day I'll forgive. One day I'll pursue. Every day that you say one day, you move one day closer to D-Day. Come on, somebody. Putting off today, putting off for tomorrow what you should do today is one of the dangerous things that I think we fall into the trap of, because we believe that we have time, that we have control over how tomorrow is going to go. So ultimately what we keep doing is telling ourselves, man, one day I'll do this. One day I'll get to it. One day I'll take ownership. One day I'll really start that business. One day I'll take my job seriously. One day I'll have that conversation that I need to have. And every day that we put off what needs to be done, we're only getting one day closer to our inability to take action on the thing that we really need to do. You gotta stop taking time for granted. One of the most ruthless things in life is time. Time don't care not one less about whether you feel good or don't. Time is gonna keep going. And so what we must do is to be proactive, is to truly take ownership, is to execute, is to stop saying one day, is to learn that the best type of action to take is messy action. It's to stop pursuing perfection, because oftentimes the pursuit of perfection really only produces one thing, and that's procrastination. And instead of pursuing perfection, let's pursue excellence. Perfection is what happens when we obsess so much about the outcome that we become paralyzed at the input. But excellence is what we do when we maximize the input and we measure the outcome. Come on, somebody. Everything about excellence is execution. Come on, somebody. Excellence is when I'm doing my absolute best with my input. And as I continue to evolve, I am measuring my outcome and I'm fine-tuning as I go. And trust me, excellence is perfection. Come on, y'all. And so one of the things I want you to grasp, and one of the things I want you to take ownership of is, man, what needs to change in my life for everything to change? Maybe it's for me that, I got to be honest, like, I got to stop speaking negatively to myself and expecting positive outcomes. Maybe if you're thinking through this, you might, man, I need to stop complaining about my situation without putting in any sort of effort to see things change. Maybe if you're honest with yourself, man, I got to stop allowing people to dilute me simply because they can't digest me. I need to stop playing small as a way to make other people feel big. If you're in circles that demand that you play small for them to feel comfortable, you're not in a circle, you're sitting on the dot. Let's keep going. Stop listening to people who suffer from spectator syndrome may be your reason. Maybe for you that you need to stop asking for permission to step fully into your dream. And you're saying to me, well, Jovan, I'm not really asking anybody for permission, like verbally asking, but maybe subconsciously you're asking and waiting for permission to pursue what's on your heart. Maybe for you, see that you need to stop being loyal to people and places that are derailing or delaying your destiny. You need to learn to say no and understand that if you feel guilty or somebody allows you to feel guilty because you say no, they were never for you, they were for how you benefit them. Maybe you're in this group that you need to stop thinking that your perspective is absolute truth. Or maybe for you, it's, man, I need to stop waiting for one day. I need to stop saying one day I'm going to get there. One day I'm going to do it. I want you to take that step. I want you to execute. I want you to go again. I want you to try again. I want you to become. I want you to achieve. I want you to grow. I want you to laugh. I want you to truly have peace. I want you to pursue purpose. I want you to finally have what you desire to have. Not for the sake of you having it, but for the sake of you having it so that you can help others. Listen, nothing in your life changes until you get to the point of saying, I've had enough. There is this beautiful relationship that happens between frustration and forward movement. That it's only at the point where you get tired of being sick and tired that everything in your life begins to change. Transformation is on the other side of you getting sick and tired with where you've been, what you've always seen, what you've done, what your history has said that doesn't align with what your destiny will say. And the only thing that lies between your history and your destiny is you. I know you've had enough. Today is the day that you take ownership and you say to yourself that I will not continue to perpetuate my past. I will learn from my past, but I will capitalize on my present so that I can progress in my future. And if your mind can conceive it today and your heart can believe it, then your hands can create the life, the impact, the legacy, the love you desire. Until next time, I will see you on another episode, another time. It's Jovan Glasgow. Love, peace, stay empowered.